Thank you. Shelley, would you do it roll call? Here.
Amen.
Joe Bird. Julia Coates. Sean Pittman. Joe Deere.
Aye.
Mike Dobbins.
Here.
Shannon Duncan.
Aye.
Rex Jordan.
Here.
Darrell Legg.
Here.
Dora Petskowski.
Here.
Mike Shambach.
Here.
Mary Bakershaw.
Bonnie.
E.O. Smith.
Here.
Denise Taylor.
Here.
Victoria Vasquez.
Bonnie.
We have one.
Thank you. And do I have a motion to approve the minutes as
moved.
printed in the book? Thank you. A second?
Second. Here. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Now we have our regular reports. Miss Diane Kelly, are you in the room? All right. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, Mike's not here, but he knows. We finally got our phone lines and our computers up and hooked in. Cox Communication is who we were waiting on to get everything going, and my understanding is that they're up and they're running, and Julie is going to be putting a news release out to that effect so that everybody knows who to call, how to call, and where we're located. In our offices, we've got several staff people that will be over there working. We were just waiting for the computers and the phones to be intact. We're also working on some of our field locations for additional caseloads. We've got, with the TANF program, we've got several people that are starting, and we've tried to do some remodeling in some of our offices. So we're adding a few things in some of our offices so that we can work with the TANF program. Summer youth applications start February the 17th. And Jeff said, say that again, February the 17th. And the reason that we tell you that is because we know that whenever the deadline is it starts February the 17th and runs up through May. There's always your constituents that'll come to you and say, well, can you get my little daughter or my little son in there? We need them to come in. We're going to open up our offices from 9 to 12 o'clock on Saturdays during the month of April. So there won't be any reason for them not to be able to come in and sign the paperwork. If they work Monday through Friday, they can come in on that Saturday from 9 to 12 and sign the paperwork for the ones that are 16 and 17 years old. We will be out in the field taking applications, and the staff are gearing up. We're actually trying to get as much of it on the computer this go around as what we have had in the past. Last year, we got so bombarded that we just had to start taking it by paper because we had too many coming in, and some of the people were having a difficult time learning the data system. But we think that we've got that mastered by now. We're also going to start taking applications for our summer youth leadership intern program. George Roach wanted me to remind everybody, if you're interested or you know anybody that would be 18 that's high school senior that is graduating, going to college, you might want to pass the word along that we are taking applications for the summer internship. And this year we're going to have 2 at-large students, and we'll be sending information out about that. Harley, you want to pass that around? If I don't have enough, we can get you some more. Our DOL corporate review started 2 weeks ago over at Job Corps, working with Scott Otten in the evaluation and compliance area. We're required by law to do a corporate review of our Job Corps Center, and we do it normally before the feds come and do their piece of it. And we know that they're coming sometime in March or April. Who knows? They may show up next week, but we've been working on this. We borrowed Carol Young from the dorms at Sequoia. We borrowed Darren Dry from our Jack Brown Treatment Center. And then we had one of the marshals that was working with us. We've had different people. We had a total of 21 people over there working on it. as they could schedule times to go over and work on it. Some of them were over there in the evenings, some of them were in the weekends. And we think that we'll have it wrapped up this week so that we'll have that ready when the Department of Labor comes. I want to commend everybody that worked on it. We hosted the Tulsa Job Corps and Guthrie Job Corps last week. We do a quarterly school board meeting and a quarterly state coalition meeting. And we hosted last week, and our superintendent is Don Lucas. Don used to be the superintendent at Colbert. He's now one of our counselors, but he still has his accreditation, and he serves as the superintendent for the 3 Job Corps centers. And the State Department of Ed sent out information about the largest school districts. They sent out information about the grades, household demographics. Special education has risen in the state of Oklahoma from 98,965 to 116,875. And then English learners has risen from 46,000 up to 57,000 in the state of Oklahoma. And alternative education has risen as well. Student enrollment by race, and you have 47.93% in state that's white, 18.16 that's Hispanic, and 12.85 that's American Indian in the state of Oklahoma. And anyway, they sent out this information. They will be here in March to do our accreditation, and they try to do the accreditation with all 3 of our Job Corps centers, and then they try to do Sequoias at the same time. So Leslie Janis is the person who comes to do that, and Dawn received information and went over that with us as to what to expect and to have ready whenever they get here. So our staff in our academic area and our high school area is working on that so that we can get our accreditation. This past few weeks we celebrated Groundhog Day. Although it was on Sunday, we celebrated it on Monday, February the 3rd, and we had students who went out and job shadowed in various parts of the Cherokee Nation. And just wanted to share that with you because we try to encourage our students to go out and look at the various jobs that they may be interested in. And if you look up and down the halls of the Cherokee Nation and you go out to any of our field clinics, go to any of our field offices, you're going to find some of our students who've gone through one of our training programs. And it's very rewarding when you go out and somebody comes up to you and says, "Remember me? I was the person who went through your training program." And a lot of people have gone through our training program. We're going to be celebrating our Wayfinders on Friday, February the 21st. We're going to do something special for them. And then we have several training sessions set up for our 102-477 programs. We implemented our opioid program and our retail program and our NAVTEP program. We have combined them into the 102-477, which is through the Department of Interior. The funding comes through Department of Ed, or it comes through Department of Labor, but it goes over to Department of the Indian Affairs, and then from there it's consolidated in with all of our other programs, and we do one report. It's similar to your self-governance. So we're going to do some training with some of our staff during the month of March and April, and then in June we have a review coming up from our project officer, Ms. Doyle, who'll be here, and she'll probably be bringing a couple people with her because we constitute one of the larger 102-477 programs within the nation as far as Indian programs. Any questions?
Any questions?
I didn't mean to talk real fast, but I know you limited on your time.
That's good.
Yes, Harley.
Diane, with all the help we're going to get this summer with our summer youth and intern, what would really be helpful for me, and I don't know about the other council members, but a resource book telling the different departments, telephone numbers, and just a brief description of what they provide. We're getting so large now that people ask me questions, and I used to could remember, but I don't remember anymore. Is there any way that you can see to get, can you get this done some way?
Well, I'm sure that somebody inside Cherokee Nation can work on that.
Hey, good for you, Don Kelly. Well,
We can help them.
That's great. I don't know if anybody else on the council would like one or not.
I'd like one.
It would be really helpful to
I
have
would.
just a cheat sheet, basically.
I'll get with the secretary, we'll figure something out.
So, is that it?
Are y'all gonna pay for it, the printing?
Is that it?
Harley will. No, seriously, I'm sure if all the programs would put some information together, it could be compiled.
Counselor Coates?
Thank you. I just, I wanted to, because you said there were going to be positions for 2 at-large people in this intern program, this one here. Okay, despite the fact that it says must reside within the Cherokee Nation jurisdictional service area.
But that is for the 14 counties. I don't
Okay.
have the information available yet for the at-large.
Okay, so that
And
is
it's
going to
forthcoming.
be
It's
something different
forthcoming.
from
Yes,
this then?
it will be different.
Okay, great, thank you.
Are there other questions? Yes, Counselor.
And what's the at-large, Miss Council Lady? What was?
We have had some youth who have asked about participating on our summer youth program or our internship program. And actually, they could probably with the intern program, because that starts at 18 and older. It would be very difficult for somebody that's 16 and 17-year-old at large to relocate to this area for the full 7 weeks. So we are going to work something out so that we can work through probably Kevin's office out at the cultural area, since he goes out and works with a lot of these large groups, and we'll be putting something out through his operation so that there can be 2 at large.
That's good. That's good. Thank
I
you.
just don't have the criteria developed, but we will have it developed.
What I mean by that is they raise their hand sometimes. Does that cover at-large? No, no, no. But, yeah, I'm glad that you guys are working on something for me. Thank you.
Is there other questions?
Just one.
Yes.
Did any of the kids, when they went out on celebrating Groundhog's Day, see their shadow?
Nobody mentioned it.
That was cute.
Well, they're being so easy on you, Diana.
Thank you, Keith.
No other questions? You're free to go about doing the good work you do for the Cherokee people.
Thank you, thank you.
Mr. Ron Etheridge, would you make a report?
You have a report, but I have 3 or 4 things that took place since the report. So I'll go ahead and speak on those items, and then if you have any questions at any time, please stop me and we'll try to answer them. The first thing I'd like to talk about, March the 5th, I put on the calendar now, that's Public School Appreciation Day at Hard Rock. 10:30 registration, 11 o'clock with the meal. See lots of district administrators with smiles on their faces because this year, you're setting another record, giving over $5.5 million to the county and contiguous county schools that qualify. And the number of students have increased about 1,000 from last year. So we have, they understand that what you're doing is a good thing. What Cherokee Nation's doing is a good thing, and they're very pleased. I mean, with the help that we give our respective schools. At a school, and I've had just a slight chance to share this with administration by way of email. Contact me Friday. And said, hey, we'd like to do something different. And I said, like what? And he said, well, our handbook. He said, we're teaching 2 Cherokee classes right now. And he said, we'd like for our handbook, a version of it to be in Cherokee. I said, man, that's a neat thing. And shared that with Roy, our head of language, and shared it with administration just briefly. And they all feel the same way. So, we're doing a good thing, and throughout, our education, and they're wanting to spread the word. I mean, they feel the same way we do about it. So, anyway, I wanted to share that with you. The Trail of Tears your award that you give out, Award of Excellence, which was adopted back in, I think, early stages of the time that we had council, and we had a voice. And so it was at that time to keep students in school. In a lot of cases, we had eighth graders that, for lack of a better way of putting it, in some of our counties that when they got to eighth grade, it's time to go catch chickens. And, they can make more money doing that than they could other. And we're keeping them in school because we're putting incentives out there to do so. And, you award them monetarily in the eighth grade and the 12th grade for areas, for academics is the first thing. They have to have a 3.5 GPA before they qualify for any of these other areas. And then we award them in art and citizenship, various civic organizations, our culture, our native culture, fine arts, school clubs and organizations, team sports, STEM, and agricultural science. So anyway, that the deadline on that, if you get word out there, I think is in March the 3rd. So we need to put the word out regarding that.
Let's wait till he finishes his report before
Kind of a
asking.
slow soaker. If I don't ask now, I might forget. I'll do what you say.
Anyway, that's on that subject area there. And really, the only other thing that I wanted to bring out that we have not, or don't have in writing here, is our bike riders, or remember the removal bike riders. They've been 3 months, and we've really changed that. We're working hard. We don't have a bike yet, and so, but we get them this weekend. They were measured this past weekend, and so they'll get to kind of get on the bike and go to work on. They have trainers that were provided for us by C&B last year as part of the inventory, and when they check out the bike, they'll also check out a trainer, so they can ride in inclement weather and things like that on a stationary bike at home. And so just letting you know that's kind of where we are. It's time for the bike. They're ready. I mean, the workouts that they've been putting them through, they're going to feel like, hey, I've got it made now that I've got a bicycle to sit on. So go ahead. And that's all I have other than the report that was submitted to you earlier.
All right. Counselor Crittenton.
Thanks, sir. On the Trail of Tears Award, was there any Cherokee language speaker award at all? So anything to do with the?
No, and that's something that, once again, it's your award. You may want to change at some point in time and add that to it.
I think that might be a good place to throw in a big monetary incentive for some of our young people to pass some sort of test. And I'm always talking incentives on the language, but that might be a good starting point to kind of put that out there.
That's a point well made. Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Vasquez.
Yes, I had that same
through.
question, got the answer, but Ron, I wanted to ask you about, do you have something in an email that you could send us so that we could forward that on to different groups about that award?
Okay, we'll make sure we
Send
have
it to
that.
Gail.
I'm sure. I know Lisa's watching right now, and she'll be ahead of the game.
Thanks, Lisa.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Counselor Taylor.
Regarding the nonprofits that the kids on scholarship can do community service with, it is my understanding that we're kind of pooling a resource that those kids can go to look at. Where is that available?
Through Chrissy there,
Okay.
and just communicate with her.
A kid that needed some volunteer hours could just reach out to her.
Right.
This is where I am, this is where I need, the geographic area I need to do it, and she could hook them up.
Betcha.
Thank you.
bet.
That's all I have.
Counselor Shambaugh.
in regards to the bike riders, do they actually start in North Carolina?
No.
Where they start at?
We go to Cherokee, and we have ceremonies there. We have a training ride there. And then right, the start is in New Echodo. And if I'm wrong here, someone will correct me, but
I
that's
just wondered
right.
if they had to go deal with those mountains. That would be.
There's a training ride. There's a training ride that goes up in the mountains, yeah. In fact, we had, I think, an injury one time here recent, where someone ended up not being able to ride on account of that.
I think going down would be more scary than going up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I'll agree with that.
Just wondered.
Counselor Duncan.
Just a spin-off on what Councilor Crittenden was talking about on the language award. It's a good idea, and Roy Boney has a proficiency test that you're probably aware of
Right.
for employees and others that I think it'd probably be there's different levels of that proficiency test, so I think it'd be a good starting point probably for a language scholarship since there's a test already made right there.
Hey, let's get together on that, buddy. And anybody else wants to get in? Thank you. Okay.
Counselor Buzzard.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. Ron, over some happenings in our education department. I know you're the director, and this is not pointed to you or anybody else, but I just want to say for the record that things that have happened, I'm not mentioning any names, about what's went on the last couple of weeks. People that gets charged or get accused of such things that's going on, I don't feel like that, I feel like we should do more to protect our children. I'm talking about the immersion school and Sequoia High School. Now, I know in the past, it seemed to me like, and this is just my opinion, that a lot of times we don't, we let people resign. And I hope that's not the case in these particular cases. Because if we let these people resign that are guilty of things that's happened, what's to keep them from going down the road and start teaching our other kids in other departments? So I just want to go on record that
Mr. Chief of Staff, would you like to add?
That we can protect our children. So it's nothing meant to you. I just want to know, I just want the citizens of the Cherokee Nation know how I feel about things like that. And I'm saying it to put it on record. Nothing's been mentioned in this committee about it. No name's been mentioned, but anybody like that is an employee of the Cherokee Nation, I do not support them, and I'd like to see something done with them because I don't want it to happen to another kid that lives in Bartlesville. So just want to put it for the record.
Mr. Chief of
There's
Staff.
nowhere else to say it, so this is where I'm saying it.
Yeah, if I may, to address Councilor Buzzard's concerns, we do take each of those allegations very seriously. We have multiple investigations going on in two particular circumstances right now, and making sure that we're trying to be fair to the employees to make sure that they get a fair treatment as due process under the Constitution, as well as the institutions that they work for and the children and the family that entrust our care to us during those days. So I do know and I understand what you're saying there, Counselor, and we are continuing to work on both of those on multiple levels.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief of Staff. Counselor Legg, you were next.
So on our Remember the Removal bike ride, a few months back, it was right after the election, I had a paraplegic want to know if they could participate and if they could get a bike made for them to ride along. Is that something that we've ever considered? And I don't know the logistics or manpower or anything, but it's a
I've
bike
seen 'em.
just like that.
I've seen 'em.
He wanted to train, he wanted to do everything, but there was nothing in place yet. And I don't know if that's something that's possible, but is that something that maybe you could look into and,
Oh, I'm sure we could look into it.
and
Todd's far more experienced on the bike ride than I am, so feel free to.
I would say in any circumstance, if they're a tribal citizen, we would encourage them to apply, depending on, irrespective of their abilities. or disabilities, we'd be happy to work out any accommodation if they are selected.
Would they,
But in that- in
would
that-
they get the custom bicycle? but
Yeah,
for-
we'd work out
okay.
something to make sure that we take care of them
I'll,
and make accommodations. Really, this is about teaching leadership and
Yeah.
teaching about our history and our removal. And so what we really want them for is this and this.
Okay, appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you, Counselor. I appreciate that question. Counselor Coates.
I had the question that Sean asked of Diane earlier, is the Trail of Tears Award open to at-large?
It's 14 counties.
It's 14 counties only. Okay, thank you.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
And one of the reasons it's that way, we created that Trail of Tears Awards back in '87 when I first got on the council. And the reason we did that, because a lot of our Native youth out there were being excluded from some of these awards that had 3.5 and maybe higher grade point average. They weren't considering the arts, crafts, and other areas. So we decided, wait a minute, you know, these kids need to be awarded in some capacity. We as a tribe have that responsibility, so we set it up. And we bring in a speaker, and we didn't have an at-large at that time when we first implemented this program. So anyway, that's some of the history of it. It's a great program. We're going on what, 33 years or something?
It's been a while, you bet.
Thank you, Mr.
I'd
Chairman.
like to make one more comment.
Not yet. I want to make sure everybody's had their chance first. Everybody have a question? Councilor Crittenden had asked first.
I don't want to give my idea up. But, no, you know, just if we're going to kick back and sit up here at Tahlequah and our fellow council members, every now and then a good idea can be talked about. But I thought on this, remember the removal? Not everybody gets to do it. But boy, I've been trying to figure out something. Some of you smart folks, like if there was a designated area, maybe at the Heritage Center somewhere, where, you know, get with the public health, you know, some youth, they could get some bicycles and have different places set up, kind of like a mini remember the removal for some youth or maybe even some adults. But help me, some of you guys with bigger brains than me, if you want to help me look at something like that. I've been thinking about that.
Mr. Chief of Staff, would you like to be acknowledged one more time?
Big brain.
That is a great idea, and it's one that we've kicked around years ago with CMB to create mini tourism activities in and around the 14 counties to visit historic sites. And it'd be day, week, weekend rides that we could get youth as well as adults that could be engaged and maybe ride between Beck's Mill and Saline Courthouse and hit 3 or 4 different historic sites. And it'd be a sponsored event where we would teach them the history and share with them and maybe camp out at one of those sites over a weekend or stuff like that. So it's something we've kicked around to try and keep them inside the 14 county, but also teach our history as we ride.
I'm thinking of requesting that your title be amended to Chief of Staff and bicycle issues.
Yeah, I can prepare those as well.
Bicycle expert.
Councilor Legg.
All right. I just want to let you know that we have our first Miss Native American pageant at Southside High School this weekend. Yeah.
That's good.
And they said it was, the last time was like in '84, and I think you were there. But do you ever remember them doing it? I don't ever remember it either.
Oh, yeah.
But they started it back up, and this year was our first year that we were able to crown Miss Native American.
It's great.
That's interesting.
It'll be bigger next year. Yeah.
Are there other questions? Well, thank you all. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate that. And representing the Head Start is Miss Verna Thompson.
Good afternoon, everybody. And it's almost Happy Valentine's Day, so I'll say that today. See you Friday. I just wanted to let you all know, Councilman Taylor especially, you need to go to SELA to see the improvements there. They have asphalted the parking lot and the driveway. So I don't know if you remember a gentleman by the name of Mr. Thompson. I don't even remember his first name because he was just Mr. Thompson. He was our PC rep from SELA, and he always asked for that road to be paved. And so jokingly said we should name it after him because it finally got paved today. And he passed a couple, maybe 3 years ago.
I'll go up there.
Yeah, yeah. And this evening at SELA as well, SELA is the hot site today. They're going to have infant massage class tonight at 6 o'clock. If you know anybody in the area that you can send over there, it's a fun class. Our instructor is here. And I think that's about it, other than next month I'll have the recruitment team with us to give you the annual packet of income guidelines for our program. And I just wanted to thank everybody, and I'd like to recognize them at this time, all of the Head Start folks that are here supporting the program. If y'all would stand, please. Down and just show that they are stronger than ever through everything that we're going through. And
Well, we appreciate your team and your leadership. Thank you. Are there questions for Verna?
anybody have anybody looking for a job? We still have several jobs just about everywhere, right, Barb?
Yes,
Okay.
in all of our areas.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, Verna. Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time. And representing Sequoia High School will be Restaurant Etheridge and Miss Schultz.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Okay, I didn't know exactly what to prepare, so you may have to stop me because I love to brag on our kids. January 21st, we had the sophomore class, 77 students that visited Indian Capital Technology Center. It's something that they always do every year to prepare students because they can enroll as juniors and seniors there. And so that happened. They went ahead and had an open house the 23rd. And we included our other upperclassmen, including dorm students. We give them a credit towards the purchase of their laptop should they go and attend. On the 24th, I had seniors that attended NSU's Native Senior Day campus visit. We had 10 students there. We have 54 students that are concurrently enrolled. Many of those students will not choose NSU. However, we did have 10 that were for sure going, and those are the 10 that were in attendance specifically to that event. We filled the certified math teacher vacancy at the end of January. Yes, we're very excited. Good. Heidi Hansen is now one of our faculty, although bless her heart, she has the flu right now. So anyway, SHS hosted the Maverick Conference Wrestling Tournament January 31st and 1st. We believe it's the first time that has ever happened. We hosted 20 schools at the high school division and 18 in the junior high. We had the high school team placed 8th and the junior high placed 7th. We had 9 wrestlers that placed in the top 4. That was a nice fundraiser also for our wrestling team. We had 3 students that placed 1st and 2nd at the Union Speech and Debate Tournament, qualifying them for the regional tourney. That happened February 1st. And if you've noticed, we have a lot of things that coincide, so again, just bear with me. We have another coming up this weekend, and then we will host a speech and debate tournament. In fact, it's called the Sequoia Spotlight Speech and Debate OSSAA qualifying tournament, and actually it's the last qualifying tournament before regionals. That'll be February 28th and 29th. We will host around 300 students. Coincidentally, that same weekend, OSSAA has named our site a main site for regional basketball. And so we will host districts and basketball now for the 3rd year in a row. So that also speaks something as far as our facility and the management of how we run that tournament. We hosted 8th grade day, February 3rd, so a week ago today. We had 252 students on our campus that represented 30 different schools. New applications are on the website February 17th, which is a week from today. Corey Still, who is a former SHS student, he's now with the American Indian Graduate Center. He presented to 16 juniors on the 6th, last Thursday, about the Native American High Achievement Youth Summit in Northern California. Wells Fargo approached in a AIGC, and what they've done is they're going to provide an all-expense-paid trip for 100 Native American youth across the United States to attend. There are GPA requirements and there's an application process, but because Corey has a heart for Sequoia kids, he came back, and like I said, we had 16 that sat in on that. The summit is much like College Horizons, which coincidentally, that deadline was last Friday. We had 3 that applied, and we'll hear from them as far as that is concerned. Of the students that went to College Horizons last year, there were 4 that went. 2 of them have confirmed. One is at Dartmouth and the other one is at Columbia. One of them was a junior, so she still has a whole nother year. And then the other one is non-committed just yet, only because I feel like he hasn't heard from his number 1 choice. So we'll wait and we'll see about that. We had 3 students. I'm sorry, I already talked about College Horizons. We had parent-teacher conferences last week. 7 students performed for all of Marietta Elementary and Middle Schools. Rabbit Sings with His Heart. It's a puppet show that's put on by our children's theater group. That happened the 7th, and the reason why I mentioned that is because, like I said, we had parent-teacher conferences. These kids weren't in school. So they gave up their own time to go and to share. And the thing about it is it not only does it support their learning of the heritage and culture, but it also just extends to the dependent schools throughout the Cherokee Nation, because they also participate here in Cherokee County. It just helps to show how welcoming and how accepting and how diverse the opportunities are at Sequoia High School. The academic team placed in the top 6th at state. That happened this past Saturday at Redlands College in El Reno. So there was another opportunity for students to get onto yet another college campus. Several firsts for our academic team this year. This is the first year they were regional champions, the first year that they were area champions, and the first time that they qualified for state. So we're very proud of that as well. We have named the top 10%. We have 35 students took the ACT on February 8th. Sequoia is a testing site. 25 of the 35 students were Sequoia students. 21 students made the Eastern Oklahoma Band Directors Association Honor Band. 61 seniors qualified for the Trail of Tears Awards. 41 students received their food handlers cards. That happened just last week. Seniors accepted to Columbia and Dartmouth. Sorry, already talked about that. I have 3 students on work study that have been placed, and I bring this up because I appreciate the fact that the different departments within the Cherokee Nation will help to collaborate as far as getting our students an opportunity to go to work in places that possibly could lead to full-time employment once they are graduated from high school. In specific, Verna is going to hook us up with a young man in the early childhood unit. Coincidentally, when I shared with her, I talked about, he is a young man. We can't have enough men in education, especially in positions where there are little bitty people. And when she asked, can we have him down for an interview, and bless his heart, when I collected him today, he's a true high school student. He has on a jogger and t-shirts, and he said, my mom wants to know if I can go home and change. And I said, no, I think it'll be okay. But football player, but just the kindest heart. He works in his church's nursery, and that's something that he wants to do. So I'm very excited about that one. Contacted the Business Office of Health. Lawanda over there is helping with, we have one of our seniors is in ICTC Health Careers, and she's going to go to work for them in that office. And then my own transportation office, we have a young lady that wants to detail cars. And so we're helping her maybe with a business plan, most definitely with a resume and a cover letter, but she's getting some good experience as far as that is concerned. And in fact has even like going to have a side business for some of the teachers. And I thought, hey, that's great. Drive your car to work and get it detailed in the same place. But anyway, so, and then we're working on placing one other, maybe with the warehouse. We have 2 seniors that are enrolled in a drawing workshop at the University of Central Oklahoma College of Fine Arts and Design. And I have faculty members that are giving up of their time to drive those students. That happens on Monday. In fact, I covered a class for one of the teachers that is driving those students to ECU. We'll spend the evening and then drive back this evening just to make sure they've done everything that they can, and both of those students are dorm students. So our future plans or things that we have coming up, I've talked with Dr. Julianne Baldwin, who is a Cherokee citizen. She's the Regents professor with the Department of Health and Health Services at Northern Arizona University. They're looking at doing some research in specific to substance abuse and HIV/AIDS prevention educational programs, and so that's something that we may be looking at. I have a lot of students that are interested in health and science, and so I appreciate those that are interested to come to our campus so that we can expose them to other areas, not just somebody that they go to see that's going to stick a tongue depressor down their throat and make them say, but something that is going to show that there are all different avenues and careers out there. We have 2 more college signing ceremonies that have been scheduled just this week, bringing our total college signings for this year to 9. We have 8 seniors that are scheduled to attend a workshop on applying for the Indian Health Services undergraduate scholarship at NSU. That happens the 12th. 13 female students that are attending Women in STEM. That's a conference at NSU Broken Arrow. That happens the 13th. The Enid track meet is this Saturday. Student Council is hosting Senior Night Recognition this February 14th. The National Honor Society has several things going on. They're raising money for the tornado victims. They have an elder outreach in Stillwell this Saturday. They're also volunteering for the Special Olympics track meet, which, by the by, Hope, Honoring Our People's Existence, are raising money for the Polar Plunge, and that's something that they've always done. And then we will, gosh, I've talked so fast and hard. Wrestling state competition is February 28th and 29th. The area tournament for basketball is in Stroud. That's March 5th and 7th. If I'm invited back next month, we'll make sure I get you guys that information as well. And then spring break would be the last thing that I have so far, and that's going to be the 13th through the 20th.
Ron, I can't imagine you have any value to add to that.
To add to that.
You do, go ahead, now's your turn.
Yeah, she did.
I have a comment, Mr. Chair.
Did you have something to say first? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, on the first, the academic part, Ms. Show, you've done an outstanding job in preparing our students for the ACT, top 6 in the state in academics. Appreciate that speech and debate, all of that really, that goes hand in hand. And that's what you are. You're an academic person. We appreciate that. The sports at Sequoia, in the past 10 years, it's taken care of itself. It's already got the, reputation there of, you go to Sequoia, you used to go play in a big house. If you want to play in the regionals, you can stay in these other schools. I won't go there. But anyway, appreciate what you have done there and go a long ways, because we get to host the districts and the regionals. Mm-hmm. Some schools, they don't get to do that. And that goes with, again, we appreciate you, Mr. Ettridge, on what you've done and everything you do for our education department. So thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Duncan.
I was just going to point out, do a little bragging on Stillwell. You guys hosted the Maverick Wrestling tournament. Stillwell Lady Indians, first year all girls wrestling. They were the champions of that. So I'm going to brag on those girls at Stillwell Indians wrestling.
Absolutely. Counselor Shaw.
Yeah. What is the polar plunge?
Polar plunge. So I participated a number of years ago, and I feel like it's one of those things where you're one and done. And so I give now for someone else. And so what you do is you raise money to see who doesn't go jump in the Illinois River. And that is coming up, I believe. Actually, it was March, the first weekend in March, I believe, or something like that. Yeah.
Several years, former Chief Baker participated in the polar plunge, and
Curtis Snell.
Mr. Byrd has nominated Counselor Shaw to participate to represent for this year.
Actually, I looked at the date and I believe I'm at an at-large committee. Darn it.
That's a tough one there.
Are there other questions?
Good report.
Good reports. Thank you all.
Hey, Michelle, one more thing. Your transportation, how are they doing okay? Because we drive those buses everywhere.
Well, sometimes it's a little strained, I will say, most definitely, but we will try to accommodate in every way, shape, or form. And just like I shared that I was covering a teacher so that she could take the students to UCO this evening, and I had to leave a little bit early because the last bell sounds at 3:20. I had another teacher that said, okay, well, if you can start them on their algebra, they can come and finish it in my class. So a lot of times that will happen where we have like teachers. Larry Shea, who is with the immersion, is also helping us as far as driving is concerned, because a lot of times it's drivers, especially when we hit this time of year when there's scouting that's involved as far as coaches wanting to.
Because it's been about 5 years since we purchased any buses.
Yeah.
Been at least 5 years. Yeah. All right, thank you. And this back to Mr. Etheridge. Your department is still over the Heritage Center, correct?
Over what?
The Heritage Center?
Yes.
The other day, when we got our culture report, we talked about a reversionary clause. In the reversionary clause, the land from the Oklahoma Historical Group, we got that reversion taken care of, but it reverted back to the Heritage Center,
Correct.
not the Cherokee Nation. Okay, so we still got some. So what you might do is, for our sake, the council, we got all excited there for a while. We thought it was back to us. So you might get with the chief and see what he wants to do with that. If they want to move it on it, then we'll take the executive, the branch is lead on this here. Okay?
Thank you. Yes.
If I might, so that reversionary clause, so when the Historical Society deeded, or when the Oklahoma Historical Society deeded that to the Cherokee Nation Heritage Center or the Cherokee Historical Society, it was years ago, and they put a reversionary clause in there to say if at any point in time that the Heritage Center does not continue to operate, then that land and all of its assets would default back to the Oklahoma Historical Society. And so what we agreed to do was pay money to the Oklahoma Historical Society to remove that reversionary clause off of that. So it was a protection to make sure that if anything ever did happen, so we still have the work to do with the Heritage Center to talk about transferring that over potentially to the Cherokee Nation, and then thus putting it in trust potentially.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Worthy effort there. Thank you. No old business pending, no new business pending, and next meeting is scheduled for March 16th at 3 p.m. Announcements, I would actually like to invite everybody to join me if they're available this Thursday, anytime between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. at the Oklahoma Veterans Center in Claremore for Valentine's with Veterans. At noon, I've sponsored through our monies lunch for our veterans and their sweethearts for Valentine's for the last 3 years there, and it truly is a wonderful thing. If you don't have one close to you, it's worth the drive to come up, and then we make sure that every veteran has a Valentine's card that says that the Cherokee Nation and the people of the Cherokee Nation are thinking about you on this day. So feel free to join me, call me if you have questions, and we'll make sure that you get to be part of this fun. But it is truly a fun day. And that is it. Yes.
Next meeting, 13 after.
13 after. Good deal. 13 after. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Aye, everybody. Aye. Sounds like we have.